U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs.
Leave it.
Next time won't you sing with me? Come on.
Come on. Hey, I'm Brent Frazee. We're going fishing tonight. Normally I do these programs for the Mid-Continent Public Library. I do them inside. This is more fun. We, instead of talking inside a classroom, we can show you what we're talking about right out here. This is my little assistant here. This is my granddaughter. Tell them how old you are.
Number 3.
3. 3. And she's a good fisherman. This is her first time fishing, and we're having a good time already. You know, we're gonna go out and we're gonna throw some bait, and I'm gonna talk to you about ways that you can get your kids involved in fishing this summer. For a lot of you folks, you know, summer's coming up, getting warmer. You want to have some things to do, and fishing is a great way to get the kids involved. I'm going to tell you some things, give you some tips on how we fish. And Avery here is going to show you how to catch those fish. Tell them what you're using. What's your fishing rod? Elsa fishing rod. I got it for her for Christmas, and she's been waiting to use it. Her mom and dad love to fish. I brought her mom up fishing on this lake. I taught her to fish on this lake, and it's really fun to have little Avery out here fishing too. So we're gonna have some fun. We'll get back to you with some tips later on.
I got one. Here, reel it up. Reel it up. Reel it. Like this. Yep.
She have one, Debbie?
Yep. Keep going. Keep
First
going.
fish.
Keep going.
Yay! Yay!
You had to sing to it. Reel it up.
Got fish.
Yay! Look at that.
First fish!
Look. Here, hold this. Hold this line right here.
Yeah.
Hold the line.
See it.
Now look over here. Look.
Wow.
What is that, Brent?
Way to go, Avery!
I gotta get it like that. It's so cute.
Way to go, Waves! Like a troll.
Touch it.
Oh, nice,
It's
Avery.
gooey.
It's gooey.
Yes, it is, honey.
Kissies?
Kiss. Oh, good job.
Avery! I'm so proud of you. Your first fish.
You know, I get a lot of questions from parents on how to get kids fishing. You go into a big tackle shop and you see just thousands of baits on the shelves and on the pegboards, and people think it's almost overwhelming. But really, if you want to get a little one started on fishing, it's fairly simple. I mean, one thing that I see a lot of people do wrong is they have way too big of equipment. By that I mean they've got an adult-sized rod and reel, they've got a bobber about the size of a basketball, and they've got a big hook. And really, when you're starting that kid fishing, what you want is just for them to get some bites. They just want to watch that bobber go under, and they want to get the excitement of pulling in a fish. You can go with the bigger stuff later on. Look at the size of this bobber that I've got. This is a tiny little bobber. What I want in the size of a bobber, I want it just big enough to float the bait. I'm using little bits of night crawlers or crickets as my bait. Crickets are like ice cream to bluegills. They love them. They absolutely love them. So you don't have to have a big bobber to keep that afloat. Take a look at how small that bobber is. Then I want a little split shot a little tiny split shot, just big enough to get the bait to sink down into the water. You don't want any resistance, especially little small fish. When they feel any kind of resistance, they're not going to bite. They're gonna turn away. So just barely enough to do that. And look at the size of this hook. This is a tiny little hook. You know, I was telling you about how big some people use for hooks and stuff. This is a tiny little thing, and really, you know, they're not going to steal your bait too much with a little tiny hook. The next thing, it's a long shank. See the shank on this hook? That's important because when mom and dad go to pull the hook out of the fish's mouth, sometimes they'll really gulp it down. So if you have this long shank, you can get it out with pliers pretty easily. Let me show you the type of pliers I use. Very important when you're bringing your kids fishing. Get some pliers. These are needle nose pliers. So you can get down in the fish's mouth if they gulp it down pretty good. So this is important. It's important to have needle nose pliers. Again, go small. Look at my setup here. This is very small setup. So that is the key for setup. And I'm using just a little push button. I'm using a little push button rod and reel so that the kid can very easily do this. You're back. Did you catch any more? Huh? Did you? Good. Way to go! Shrimpy, we've talked about equipment and some of the things that you need to do that way. Couple other tips. Adults, when you're taking kids fishing, leave your stuff at home. Make the kids your sole interest. I mean, if you're fishing and trying to catch a bigger bass or something while you're trying to teach the kids how to fish, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know, you have to just make them the sole focus of your interest, and it'll work out a lot better. You know, if the kids get impatient, you know, don't fight it. Don't make them stay out a long time. You know, do it in little doses. I mean, if they catch a few fish and they have a good time, and they want to go off down, the bank and chase frogs or throw rocks, let them do it. I mean, that's part of learning about nature and just having a good time. You know, if they catch a few fish, they'll want to come back. That's like Avery. She caught a few fish and she wants to come back, but she didn't want to stay out for a real long time and stuff too. So that's one thing that I would recommend. When you're getting your equipment, going back to that, get your reels spooled up with 4-pound test line, monofilament line. That's light line, but it's good for catching small fish. The size of the line matters. You know, you want that bait to look natural in the water. You want it to float naturally for the fish. Again, night crawlers, but don't use the whole night crawler. Cut them up into little bits. You want little tiny bits like we had on our line. That way, if you have a big long night crawler, you probably look at that and say, boy, that's enticing. Well, it is, but little fish will nibble that. We call them bait stealers. They will come along and they will nibble all the way up to the hook, and that's it. So you just want a little nub of a night crawler. Again, with the crickets, that's a good bait. It's sometimes hard to get those crickets to stay on the line, but the fish really love those crickets. So that's a good bait. And if you want to catch crappies, go to the bait store and ask for some small minnows, crappie minnows. You don't want the larger minnows, you want the smaller minnows. And again, it looks natural to those fish.
Hold it like that.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Little fish.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Start off from the bank or from a dock like we're doing tonight. You know, you don't want to get out in a boat and stretch it too far. You want to be close to the parking lot. If the kid decides they've had enough, then you're right there. You're right there by your car, and you can run off and get it done. But if you're out in a boat and you're halfway across the lake and the kid gets impatient, you know, you got a long way to get back into shore, and it can be a problem. So bring plenty of snacks for the kids. You know, keep them busy, keep them entertained, and make sure they're wearing a life jacket, even if they're on a dock or even if they're off the shore. Don't start with a species like a bass or a catfish. Get a little blue. Let them get a few bites, like little bluegills. They just have a blast when the bobber goes under, and they feel important. You know, the nice thing is to take a lot of pictures. Make them feel important that they caught those fish. If you get a lot of pictures, you know, they can look back when they're adults and say that's how I got started. That's pretty cool. I've done that with all my kids. We've got pictures of them when they were little ones, and we got pictures of them like with Avery, where they were taking pictures. We were taking pictures of them with little fish, but there were big smiles, that's for sure. Like I said, don't plan on staying out a long time, and try to get them into fish as quickly as you can, because they don't have a lot of patience. So they're not going to sit there like an adult for an hour waiting for a bite. They want to get something right away. So again, if you like a dock here, a lot of times you can see the fish. You can see them swimming down there. So, you know, drop your bait down there on a bobber and let them find the bait. So I learned to fish when I was probably about Avery's age, 3. You know, my dad took me out in Wisconsin and he got me started, and I loved it. I'm 70 years old now, and I'm still fishing. I still love it. So you can develop the type of habit or a hobby that'll last you a lifetime when you go fishing. And the nice thing is you're out in nature. You're just enjoying the fresh air, and a lot better than a video game. It's great. You caught 2 fish, man. Yeah. You're good. You're good. I'm proud of you. As far as places to start, and again, you want to start on a bank. You want to start fishing off the bank. Some great places. James A. Reed Wildlife Area. It's all bank fishing. I mean, you don't go out in a boat. There's brush and cover really close to the bank. So they've got like 11 lakes. They got one lake, Honker Pond, that's set aside for children's fishing only, like for their parents to take children out. It's a great place to get started. Some other lakes, if you have anybody that you know that has a farm pond, by all means, that's a great place to get the kids started, because the fish are dumb. They haven't seen a lot of lures. They're gonna respond, and the kid's gonna have a good chance of catching some fish. Then some of the state fishing lakes on both sides of the state line in both Missouri and Kansas. You can get those by going online and finding the ones that are closest to you. They're small lakes. They were set up for fishing, and they're run by the state agencies. Again, some great opportunity for some shore fishing. They have fishing jetties that go out into the lake where you can go out there and readily catch some fish. So one other thing, go early or late in the day. Low light situation is when you're going to have your best chance of catching a fish. If you have your hands on the fishing rod, even if you're casting out for the kid, you need to have a fishing license. You know, everybody needs, every adult needs to have a fishing license. Kids don't. Kids are okay. That's fine. but make sure the adults have to have a fishing license. One other thing, I don't know if I mentioned, children have to have a life jacket. Make sure they have a life jacket. If they get out of your eyesight when they're playing around and they fall in or something like that, you don't want to risk it. I mean, you say to yourself, oh, they're just on the bank, they're just messing around. Well, you turn around and you look back and all of a sudden they're gone. So make sure you have that life jacket. Another thing, prepare for the weather. If it looks like it's cloudy and there's a possibility that you're going to get some rain, make sure you bring a little rain jacket for them. And same thing if it's cool, make sure you bring a jacket for them, because maybe it feels fine when you're first going out, but a cold front comes in and you get cold or something. I mean, you want to make sure you're dressed for the weather. That's one thing that cuts a lot of fishing trips short, if kids aren't dressed properly for what they've got. As far as times of the year to go, spring is perfect. I mean, on warm days in the spring, like April and May, and even into early June, once it gets hot, you can still go out and still catch fish, but you have to be early in the morning or late in the evening, or else you're wasting your time. So, spring is a perfect time. Early fall is also good. September and October are really good times to catch the fish in shallow water. Once you get much past October, it gets pretty cold, and I wouldn't recommend it. But no, those are perfect times. In the spring, a lot of times, if you're fishing shallow at some of these reservoirs, you go to a state park or something, and the crappies are in there real shallow. And you can cast out a minnow under a bobber, and you can do real well, catching some nice fish. And the advantage of that is, if you do it that way, the kid can catch some fish that you can take home and fillet, and you can eat your catch. And some kids are really proud about that they'll bring in dinner for the family. So that's a fun thing too. And even large bluegills will taste good too, although they're harder to fillet than a crappie. So my mom and dad had a cottage up in Wisconsin, and we lived in northern Illinois, and we'd go up to Wisconsin all the time, and we'd be up there almost every weekend. And my dad and I would be out in the boat, and then after we would come in, we'd go out real early in the morning and catch crappies and stuff. Then we'd come in, and the ladies would be up, and we'd take them out on the boat for out on the pontoon boat and water skiing and that type of thing. But after we'd come in after dinner, everybody would be settling in, and I was out on the dock fishing. I was out on the dock and catching all kinds of little fish, but it was just so much fun, to be out there by myself and fishing for yellow perch and little fish, just getting bites, just enjoying. I'd stay out right till dark. So that's something that I enjoyed, and hopefully I've got a little fishing partner with me, a little fishing partner today. Hopefully we got started. So that's what I've got for family fishing. If you have any questions or need advice, my email address is Brent, B-R-E-N-T, Gone, G-O-N-E, Fishing, F-I-S-H-I-N-G. That's lowercase, one word, at gmail.com. Again, Brent Gone Fishing at gmail.com. If you need any advice on how to get your kids started or where to go, I would be happy to answer all questions. Until later on, we'll see you on the water.